Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare.
She can't pick you up, honey, she has a baby in her tummy. And then my little sister was like, that baby is dead. Hey everybody, welcome to AskReddit. People ask Reddit. What is the most mysterious/paranormal thing you've witnessed?
Number 1.
Commenter. My father passed away last year. One item he always said he wanted me to have was a shotgun which had originally belonged to his grandfather. For years he had this shotgun stashed in the attic. After he passed, I had gone in the attic to look for it, only to find that it wasn't there. A few months later, I had a dream in which I was talking to him and I asked him where he had put the shotgun. He told me it was in the closet of a spare bedroom. I called my mother and had her check, and sure enough that's where it was. Now it's completely possible that my father had told me that when he was alive, and the dream was little more than a memory, but I certainly don't recall that being the case. Person B. It probably was. I met a friend at university and studied with her for 4 years. One night I had a dream that I bumped into her in a mall in Canada and she fell over. Surely enough, I had bumped into someone in a Westfield mall in Vancouver. It was real and I thought I had merely replaced that person I had bumped into with my friend. When I told her about it, she recalled the event, and we found out that we actually bumped into each other on the other side of the world 3 years before we actually met in university. Weird, huh?
Number 2.
My mom told me this story the other day and it freaked me the FK out. When my oldest sister was little, like 3, she asked my then pregnant aunt to pick her up to hold her. My mom said she was like, she can't pick you up, honey, she has a baby in her tummy. And then my little sister was like, that baby is dead. My mom freaked out, but my aunt and grandma were fine and were telling my mom it was all good, she was just a toddler and didn't know what she was saying. Well, lo and behold, my aunt goes to the doctor the next day for a routine pregnancy checkup and the baby was dead. Give me the willies just thinking about it.
Number 3.
Commenter. Scariest moment of my life happened while my friend and I were camping in eastern Canada as teenagers. We decided to sleep in this abandoned camper we found deep in a large forest that was near our town. It had been there so long that small trees had grown around it. We'd stumbled across it when we were exploring a few months back and thought it would be cool, and brave, to sleep there for a night. So one weekend we did it. We arrived after dark because we had gotten lost trying to find the camper. We had a really low power flashlight, so it made it even more difficult. Once we finally found it, we opened the rusty door and stepped in. The sounds inside the camper were shrill and echoey. There were typical camper things strewn about, cups, empty cans, soul and pulp fiction novels. Already tired, we holed up in one end of the camper where the bed area had originally been before the cushions had rotted away to almost nothing. A long hallway stretched the length of the camper so we could basically see from end to end. It was a miserable night. There were several rats living there. I saw them staring at us from a chewed out part of the ceiling. When the wind blew outside, the camper would shriek and groan. We even thought we heard a bear outside too, walking around. Still, we feigned bravery and acted like we were having a good time. But we were on edge. At some point I woke up from an uncomfortable sleep. I sat up to adjust myself when I noticed some movement out of the corner of my eye. At the other end of the camper, there was a small window, and as I looked at it I saw a man's silhouette. He was clearly staring straight at me from outside. At first I thought maybe it was a weird shape of a tree or something. But when I moved a bit to get a better look, the person clearly reacted and then froze. My heart was pumping and I woke up my friend immediately, saying someone is here over and over and over in a whisper, not taking my eyes off his profile. He woke up immediately and I nodded towards the window. He saw him too. We whispered frantically about who it could be and why he was staring at us. And for the next 10 minutes, no joke, we stared at him down. The longer we stared at him, the more frightened we got. Occasionally he would move, but always keeping his eyes locked on us. Eventually I shouted at him, "Hey!" No reaction. My friend was braver than me and decided to shine the flashlight at him. As soon as he did, we realized our horrible mistake. It wasn't a window at all on the other side of the camper. It was a mirror. We had been staring down ourselves from the very start. Completely idiotic. Still, it was the most fearful, relieving and funny moment of my life that I'll never forget. Closest to paranormal I've ever been. Person B. I love this story for the fact that during those 10 minutes, there was no effectual difference between what you experienced, reflection in the mirror, and the actual thing, person staring at you from outside. Therefore, You were able to genuinely experience that terror and fear as if there was someone/thing outside, with the added relief of it turning out to be false. Things like this allow me to appreciate how subjective reality really is.
Number 4.
I saw a shadow person once. I didn't know that's what it was called until much later. I was living in a house in Laguna Beach that had been there since the 1920s. In its history, it had been a speakeasy, a brothel and a house for smuggling illegal immigrants. One day, my new wife and I were having an argument. I can't even recall what it was about. She walked down the block to get a cup of coffee and cool off, and I was alone in the house. The way the place was built was incredibly haphazard. There was a bedroom and living room on one side, then a bathroom with 2 entrances. On the other side of the bathroom was a hallway that had windows in one side and 2 bedrooms on the other. From my bedroom, I could look across the hall into the bathroom, then through the bathroom and down the other hall. I was standing at my dresser, and I just noticed movement out the corner of my eye, and looked down there. There was. And honest to God, this gives me goosebumps just typing it, 17 years later, a black figure. It was maybe 3 feet tall, and it was only vaguely humanoid. It looked like black scribbles, like someone had scribbled a human shape, but the scribbles moved, like electricity arcing. That's the best way to describe it. There was no sound that I could remember. I distinctly remember when I saw it I wasn't afraid, just like, WTF? Then it noticed me looking at it. I can't say it turned around, it just focused on me I guess. Then I was scared. I didn't move, didn't scream, nothing, I was just frozen, because it just fucking came at me. It rushed down the hall towards me. I have no idea what it intended, but as soon as it entered the bathroom, the door closest to me just slammed shut on it. Then I screamed. I yelled for my wife. She wasn't home. I went the FK outside, into the daylight, and didn't go back in until she got home about 10 minutes later. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe I saw something supernatural, but I know I saw something. I don't know what it was.
Number 5.
Commenter. I was trying to sleep in my room back when I was younger and lived with my folks. I must have been maybe 17 or 18. I open my eyes while rolling over to get comfortable, and I see a black figure just outside my door, who I thought was my stepfather in the dark, with his hands up by his chest making scary finger motions at me like you might do sarcastically after a scary story, or a witch might do when casting a spell, just moving fingers wildly in my direction. I should note that this figure had no defined shape. It looked like squiggles that moved in a vague shape, and I chalked it up to the lack of light and my stepfather. Well, I look over and say, "What the hell are you doing?" Thinking it was a really stupid, creepy thing to do at night. Well, in that moment it vanished. Just gone. It was at that moment my heart sank and I became petrified with fear. One of the few moments I was scared out of my mind and couldn't comprehend what I just saw. My family suggests sleep paralysis, hypnagogia. I've had it before and still get it now and then. This was not it. Although I have written off quite a few other things that were easily attributed to this. Person B. I was probably 11 or 12, and never really had any belief in the supernatural, aliens, etc. Around roughly 5 a.m. I was sleeping on my bottom bunk at the end of our hallway when a shadow figure about the height of my dad was standing in the doorway, not doing anything, just standing. I could hear my grandmother, who watched us at the time, in the basement, and I could vaguely remember my dad leaving about an hour earlier. I closed my eyes twice, opened them, and just started with a squint so it looked like I was sleeping. Eventually I was so scared I just closed my eyes and secretly hoped it was all some weird dream. I couldn't sleep, but soon after I heard dresser drawers slamming very loud in our spare bedroom. All of a sudden my grandma runs upstairs and tells me to quit making so much noise. I tell her what's up, she opens the spare bedroom door and there's nothing there. No possible way to escape either, a second-story window with the screen still intact.
Number 6.
I was laying in my bed, the room door in front of me, wide open, and to the left. I could see the room where the front door was. There was an antique cabinet that my dad had that illuminated a white glow. I started to freak out for no reason, and started sweating. I for some reason knew shit was about to happen, and I was about to witness something. About 5 minutes later, laying hot in sweat, I fucking saw it. There was a door in the back of the room with the front door, that was storage. A black outlined humanoid figure walks out, mildly static looking rare. It took a few steps towards the front door then stopped. Does a military-like turn facing me? At this point I'm freaking the shit out, eyes wide. It walks into my room and stops beside my bed. Does one more military turn facing me? At that point I figured, what have I got to lose? I noped the F out and ran through the thing, ran upstairs to my parents' bedroom and knocked furiously at the door waiting to let me in. Eyes focused on the stairs making sure it wasn't to follow me. Nothing. I slept with my parents for the next few nights. One of the scariest things that happened to me as a child. I have a couple more different stories, but I'm at school right now and can't write them all. Also, someone mentioned that a professor at a university, calling them the scariest FS, said that these guys do in fact feed off negative energy. At the time, I think I can recall my parents fighting. Not sure if it was a significant enough fight to really send my negativity through the roof.
Number 7.
I woke up one morning to mom yelling down the stairs for me to get up. It was a school day. I had a shower, came back to my room and sat on my bed, sluggishly slipping my school uniform on. This is where the shit goes down. As I was pulling up my socks, I noticed a flash outside my door more toward the room with the front door. Not the bright camera type flash, but more like an invisible person walking past super fast past my door. For those of you that played Halo, it looked like someone walking around with the invisibility cloak but real fast past my door. You can still see them but not entirely. I saw this from the corner of my eye and began to freak out. I went upstairs to eat breakfast, and I remember how scared I was. I sat there staring down at the table as I ate my cereal. My mother asked what was up and I looked up at her with a straight face and said something along the lines of I saw a flash by the door downstairs. Something walked past my door. I said this calmly with a straight face, and now that I look back on this I must have looked like the classic creepy kid. My mom replied with it's all in your head. I went back to eating and she went in the laundry room behind the kitchen, and that's when it happened again. I was eating when I saw another flash of an invisible person walk past the kitchen door. This time I was paralyzed. As in, I stopped chewing and now staring straight down at the table. These furs are playing with me. My mom walks in, stops, sees my reaction and again, I calmly say it just did it again, over there pointing at the kitchen threshold. I tell my mom something is playing with me, and I'm not imagining things. What really relieved me but freaked me out at the same time was her reply I know. It relieved me because she believed me but freaked me out because she basically confirmed their existence. About 10 seconds later, we both heard someone walking down the stairs, wooden, so creaking can be heard, very slowly. I remember thinking to myself that it sounded as if their cover is blown and they're trying to sneak out. My mom and I both looked at each other and once we heard it stop, she looked around the corner down the stairs. Nothing. Dad had already left for work. What the actual F? Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.